There we go. Well, welcome everyone. It's wonderful to see all of you this evening. We were all just sharing some of our fall experiences. It's fall in the Northern Hemisphere right now. And some of us, our leaves have already fallen, some they're just starting. And for some of us too, are having blustery fall days. So it's very present for us right now. And Alex has kindly created a fall color change presentation that he's going to share with us. So he'll share that presentation and then we'll share anything that wants to be shared. And then I will lead us in a healing meditation.
I'm
So
also hoping, I was really excited about this, but I was hoping to have a little bit of time to read from Winnie the Pooh as well. So I'm hoping we get a little bit of time at the end, but I've got a lot of other notes and information to share too. So if we get through that, then we'll save some time for story time, and that'll be really fun, I think. So.
Well, then, without further ado, Alex will begin this lovely presentation. And thank you all for being here.
Is it
ready
shared?
to share?
Oh, yeah,
Yep, I'll
yeah, okay.
share our screen. There we go.
Very good.
And then menu, slideshow.
Okay, cool. So everyone can see that? All right. I thought we just, start like we normally do with Dr. Pong's 8 verses. And so I'll let Elizabeth lead this because she's better at it.
Find your meditative Qigong posture. Finding anything that feels comfortable and supportive and well aligned in this moment. And feel yourself sinking, connecting to the earth, straightening the spine, lifting the crown of the head to the heaven, and just allowing these words to flow into the body, into the energy. Head touches sky. Feet stand on earth. Body relaxes and the mind expands. Be respectful and quiet. Mind is clear and appearance is humble. No distracting thoughts. Mind expands into infinite space. Feel the mind shining into the body, deeply and inwardly. Entire body is harmonized with Qi. Harmonized with Qi.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Yeah, so I was really excited for this topic. And when Elizabeth said that they were looking for some more themes to share and so on, and this one just it was starting to happen all around us. Our leaves are just starting to turn a little bit yellow now. We're going to get into some of those deeper oranges and reds. This is actually a photo from the Ozarks here, and it'll look like this probably not 2 weeks from now. This is what it'll look like. But right now it's still pretty green, a little bit of yellow, like I said. But this is not unusual, and so this is a really gorgeous area to live for fall. As I was growing up, I mean, this was always my favorite time of year. It's just like it marked the passage of time for me, as the time to rake leaves together and jump in them. Like, what kid doesn't love that, right? And so it was like, yes, this is like part of my soul. I have to share it. It's just so good. It's my very favorite time of year. So, what does the fall color change? Why does this even happen? So there is like a sciencey reason, for it. That's basically deciduous trees have this adaptation to survive cold, dry winters and temperate climates. Deciduous trees, we learned in another presentation, another topic that we did, are actually the newest trees to exist. In the past, at times where, the world was covered in like jungles and stuff, and there was much higher carbon in the atmosphere, there was much higher temperatures all around the globe. Dinosaurs roamed the earth and so on. They didn't really have, deciduous trees. These are very new, like post-ice age type beings. Now, of course, they've been here for, thousands and thousands of years now at this point, but they're still fairly new to the planet. And so they basically adapted to cold weather. That's trees that need to live, through a very long period where there will not be, enough warmth and moisture to keep them growing. Okay, so shorter days and cooler temperatures, basically, as that starts happening through the wintertime, that triggers a hormonal process to enter dormancy. This helps to break down chlorophyll, um, and then that energy is reabsorbed from the leaves back into the body of the tree. So leaves, what basically leaves are, is an energy sink, right? As they grow and build up material, they store energy in them. And then the trees will drink that energy as the leaves then fall off, and then they are able to rest over winter time and be sustained, right? So the process of sealing off those leaf stems is called abscission. That's why they break off so easily in the wind and drop to the ground. Um, and what I found most interesting about this is that it's like up to 90% of the energy is reabsorbed. So it's like highly efficient. That's like one of the most highly efficient, like anyone who, studies like solar panels, for instance, or any of these engineering marvels that give us energy, any engine. I mean, a 90% efficient engine would be remarkable. Okay, and so that's like an incredible amount of efficiency. To be able to reabsorb that much energy from what you have expended producing and gathering the energy and everything and growing your leaves, to be able to get 90% of it back is very remarkable. And that's how the tree, grows and builds up. Now there's an alternate reason, if you guys like dad jokes, because they were tired of hanging around. That's why leaves fall off trees. Okay, that was just thought I'd throw that in there. But anyway, this is a picture of a leaf that is, its chlorophyll production has stopped, and as that chlorophyll begins to break down, and as the tree begins to, suck that energy back into its trunk and root system, it reveals these other colors underneath. And how beautiful, right? What a gift that is to us. It's also, I wanted to kind of just mention how trees build these rings as they grow each season. Each season is marked in this tree. If you take a cross section of a trunk, you can see the aging of the tree. And time for trees is seasonal. It's circular. It's not linear. At least it's not only linear. So during the spring and summer, trees will produce new layers of xylem very quickly, and this is called early wood. It's the lighter part of the band that you see. Then during fall, as the growth begins to slow down, you get additional stressors like cold, drought, shorter days, and so on. This leads to the darker part of the ring, and that's called late wood. So each concentric ring marks the start of a new growing season. Every time you see a new lighter band begin, that's the new spring. And how this relates to the color is that, and this is sort of a generalization. There's always exceptions to the rule and so on, but generally speaking, you can kind of look back through the past of a tree by looking at its rings and kind of see where the droughts were, where the stresses were. And you can see there were some seasons maybe that were very moist, and they had a mild, wet summer with low stress, maybe very high productivity, no real extremes. The likely fall color impact there would be that you kind of have sort of muted or even colors, a much longer duration to the fall, which is what we've had the last few times we've been here, the last few years here in the Ozarks. You can get very narrow rings where they're thin overall, especially thin late wood. This means you had probably a very high, dry, hot summer with very high stress. You can actually get fairly vibrant colors from this, but they're often very short-lived. So, you're looking out the window one day and oh, look at all that color. And you look out the window the next day and it's gone. The show's over. They've all fallen off the trees. You can get strong color contrast with pale early wood and very dark late wood. That usually means you had a wet spring and then abruptly had a very dry, cool late summer and fall. It gives you that sort of peak vibrancy with a very moderate length. That's where you get a lot of rich reds. It's almost ideal for producing those reds. If you have missing or false rings or extra faint bands, you might probably have some mid-season droughts or even frosts in some cases. This can give you sort of an erratic display. You may get some color, you may not, but you'll definitely have a lot more patchiness. Like you'll see patchiness to the trees. So it's kind of interesting. Just putting together this research, I just thought I'd share some of this. I'd kind of known about like the rings kind of marking the seasons and stuff, but I didn't know this about the relation to the color change. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna move on to a new topic here, which I wanted to kind of like bring out some of our, I guess, the cultural histories of how we relate to this time of year. What is this time of year where the leaves are changing from one color to another? Well, it's, we're kind of like halfway between this very warm, bright, light part of the year and then the cold, dark part of the year. And this is sort of cusping between them. And then this beautiful transition takes place. And, in the West, what we sort of a tradition that is kind of centers around this time in just a couple of weeks or a week and maybe a little less than a week now or a week and a half or something like that is All Hallows Eve, right? October 31st, commonly known as Halloween. And of course, All Saints Day, November 1st. These are, Christian observances traditionally that sort of sit at the cusp of autumn's deepening chill, symbolizing this transition, the remembrance, the eternal cycle of life and death. Now, the dates for this weren't actually chosen arbitrarily, right? They actually overlay with older pagan traditions, particularly Samhain, and that sort of marked the boundary between this lighter half of the year and the darker winter half of the year. So, in this post-harvest landscape, we're kind of looking at these fading leaves, these shortening days. We're invited to reflect on impermanence and renewal. Now, in the Christian tradition, All Saints' Day honors, known and unknown saints, martyrs, holy figures who have gone before, while All Hallows Eve serves as a sort of vigil or eve leading up to that. All Souls Day extends this to pray for the deceased, emphasizing communal intercession for the dead. This was established by Pope Gregory III in the 8th century and formalized on November 1st by the 9th century. These feasts were strategically placed to sort of Christianize existing sort of pagan end of the year rituals. And, thematically, they sort of echo the Bibles, to everything there is a season, which is a very famous Ecclesiastes uh, um, passage that was also made into a song, I think you might know, by Pete Seeger. Um, awesome. I always thought about I should have maybe brought that into this, but we have so much to cover. I want to make sure we have enough time for everything. Okay, so then as for Samhain, or Samhain, as it's called, an ancient Gaelic festival dating back over 2,000 years prior to the Christian tradition. This is not really just a holiday, but almost like a liminal marker. So it's the end of the harvest. Livestock's been slaughtered for winter stores. The veil between the living world and the spirit world is starting to grow thin, and it allows ancestors to visit and offer guidance, or in some cases, warnings. Bonfires would blaze to ward off malevolent spirits. They were believed to have protective as well as purifying properties. Feasts honored the dead with offerings, and guising or disguises protected against otherworldly beings. And these customs evolved into eventually our modern day, trick-or-treating and costumes and so on. Now, the timing aligns perfectly with the turning of the seasons. Samhain falls roughly midway between the autumnal equinox, which is between, September 21st and 23rd, when the day and night balance, and the winter solstice, which is December 21st and 22nd, are the longest night. In the Celtic Wheel of the Year, a cycle of 8 solar festivals, it's one of the 4 cross-quarter days, which emphasizes a shift from abundance and introspection as the days grow shorter and nature dies back. The equinox represents equilibrium, but by late October, the scales have really tipped toward darkness, and they're beginning to mirror those themes of release, shedding the summer's warmth, and preparing for rebirth, much like the falling leaves revealing hidden colors underneath. In Japan, there's this practice called momiji gari, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. But momiji gari, it's called the hunt for red leaves. I wanted to talk a little bit about this. I thought it was fascinating. Now, momiji is the Japanese word for maple tree, basically. And just like how in the springtime they have the cherry blossoms, which, mark the change of seasons, in the fall, the maple tree is kind of their quintessential color change that captures the arrival of fall. And Momijigari is basically, this hunt for red leaves. So people go out, and it's like a pastime to go out and photograph, find red leaves, go hiking, go into nature and look for these changing colors. Now, the Japanese culture generally is deeply infused with sort of this Buddhist philosophy, the autumn foliage, or koyo, the scenic reddening of the leaves. This serves as a vivid meditation on mujo, or impermanence. The core tenet here is that all things arise, they peak, they fade, much like the brief blaze of red maples before winter's hush. The seasonal spectacle isn't just admired for its beauty, it's a spiritual prompt for mindfulness and detachment, echoing Buddhism's emphasis on embracing transience without attachment. The quintessential meditation here is on leaves yielding to the wind without resistance, falling to their death, and fostering acceptance. So this hunt for red leaves, it kind of dates back to what they call the Heian period, which is from 794 to 1185 CE. Um, Literally means red leaf hunting that transforms all fall into a sort of a poetic pilgrimage where people venture into the mountains, temples, and gardens to chase the shifting hues of maples, ginkgos, and persimmons. It's less a literal hunt and more of a contemplative ramble inspired by classical literature like the Tale of Genji, where nobles composed waka poems in crimson amid crimson canopies, capturing mono no aware the pathos of things' ephemerality. In Buddhist terms, the leaves' vivid peak, followed by swift fall, mirrors life's illusions and impermanence, urging viewers to savor the moment while pondering detachment. Today, this time of Momijigari kind of peaks from sort of mid-October, and it's guided by nationwide Koyo forecasts that track color fronts and like weather patterns across the country. As you know, it usually starts in the north and works its way south. Families and friends don yukata robes for illuminated night walks, light lanterns along leaf-strewn paths, and sip sake under fiery arbors at sites like Kyoto's Tofukuji Temple. This practice fosters communal joy and quiet introspection, reinforcing Buddhism's call to find enlightenment in the ordinary. For example, a single scarlet leaf drifting on the wind. Okay. And then I had this story of the Great Bear. This is great. So we used to live in Minnesota, and the place we would vacation all the time was the North Shore of Minnesota. And the North Shore, and I've included some photos later here from the North Shore that are just, it's one of the most beautiful places on Lake Superior. It almost looks like, I think it's a lot like the New England coastline, really, in some ways, because Lake Superior is so large, it almost seems like an ocean. And of course, they have a lot of the same species of tree and so on. But the Anishinaabe there, the first peoples were the Ojibwe. And so they have this tale of the Great Bear. And the Great Bear is this myth of how the Ursa Major constellation came to be. And it also explains where fall colors come from. Okay. So I wanted to share this tale with you now. It's an oral tradition. I didn't receive it orally, but I printed out a retelling of it from a source I found online. So I'll read it out loud to you today. Okay. Gather close, friends, as the fire crackles low and the autumn winds whisper through the birches. In the time before times, when the world was young and the stars were still learning their places, there roamed a creature of immense power, a great bear, vast as a mountain, with fur black as midnight and eyes like glowing coals. This was no ordinary beast. It was a spirit of the wild, fierce and untamed, guardian of the forest's deepest secrets. But hunger drove it from the shadows, and it prowled the villages of the Ojibwe people, scattering their stores of wild rice and corn, chasing away the deer that fed the clans. Mothers clutched their children close, and elders shook their heads, murmuring that the balance of the world had tipped. Words spread like ripples on a still lake. The great bear must be stopped, lest winter come early and empty. From the shores of the Great Lakes, warriors rose, 7 brothers, brave and swift, sons of the wind and the wave. They were hunters of legend, their arrows tipped with flint from sacred quarries, their hearts steady as the drumbeat of the earth. We will track it, they vowed, until the chase ends or the stars themselves intervene. With packs slung over their shoulders and songs of resolve on their lips, they set out at dawn, following the bear's massive prints that scarred the mud like thunder's path. Through endless days they pursued, over rolling hills where wild strawberries blushed red underfoot, across rivers that sang of salmon leaping silver. The bear, sensing the hunter's resolve, grew cunning. It doubled back through the thickets of maple, leaving false trails of snapped twigs, and climbed sheer cliffs where eagles wheeled in envy. Moons waxed and waned. Summer's green cloak began to fray at the edges, the first hints of gold threading the leaves like veins of sunlight. The brothers grew lean and weary, their moccasins worn to whispers, but their bond held fast. It flees not from fear, the eldest one said one eve by the fire, but from a deeper call, the rhythm of the seasons pulling it home. At last, as the air turned crisp and the days shortened like a closing fist, they cornered the beast in a vast clearing ringed by ancient oaks. The great bear reared on hind legs, towering like a storm cloud, its roar shaking acorns from the branches. Arrows flew true. One from the youngest brother pierced its flank, drawing a rivulet of blood as red as the setting sun. The bear staggered, not in defeat, but in a wild fury that blurred earth and sky. With a mighty swipe, it clawed at the heavens, and in that moment, the Great Spirit, the Creator who weaves all threads, awoke to the fray. A whirlwind rose, gentle yet unyielding, lifting the bear skyward. Its body twisted into the form of stars, the bowl of its haunches becoming the constellation, which today wanders the northern night. The seven brothers, too, were drawn upward, their forms etched as the tail of stars in pursuit of the bear, forever circling the northernmost star. The blood from the bear's wound, eternal and life giving, fell in shimmering drops, cascading down to paint the waiting leaves below. Maples caught the scarlet spray and burned with passion. Sumacs and oaks drank deep of crimson fire. Flecks of the bear's fat, warm and golden, scattered like embers from a dying blaze, gilding the aspens and poplars in hues of amber and honey. Even the geese, witnesses to the ascent, dipped their wings in the falling colors, trailing reds and oranges across the sky as they fled south, a final gift before the frost. Each autumn, as the constellation climbs high, the wound reopens, the colors return, a reminder that the hunt is endless, the cycle is unbroken. The bear hibernates through the long dark of winter, dreaming in the earth's quiet belly, only to rise renewed in spring, its fur glossy once more, ready for the world to turn again. I love that story. When I found it, I was like, yes, going in the presentation. Now I got just a few photos where we can kind of spend some time with the fall color change. I heard that some of you were a little bit robbed this year and the colors went too quickly. And so you might already be missing the colors. And here we're just now starting to get the colors. But I found a few photos that I thought we'd just spend a little bit of time with each of them and kind of bask in the energy of that fall color change. This is the first of our Lake Superior images here. I can't remember the name of this trail, but this was a very accessible trail. It brings you up to, I believe it's actually the highest point along the North Shore. It's not that high. It's like maybe 1,000 feet above elevation or something, because the lakes are at sea level. But it's not that hard to get up. I think we could hike it in like just a couple hours or something. And yeah, I took this photo. It's near Lutsen, Minnesota. Okay, and then this is actually just a quick little video I took because as I mentioned, we were having our blustery fall, windy days are starting now, and the leaves are just beginning to kind of start that transition and turn from like a green to a light green to a yellow, and they'll get deeper still. But this is just a quick little video from our property. We were just on a walk the other day, and I just filmed this for the joy of it. Awesome, and that brings us to Winnie the Pooh. So, wanted to this I mean this is something that always reminds me of fall, and I think I mentioned this story um, in one of our last meetings, and it's one of those things. I think the story with that topic was actually about wind, and this is of course about leaves, but it's the whole season. I always think of Winnie the Pooh at this time of year. The fall, the weather is such a character in these stories, and it often plays a very big role. So this particular excerpt, and I'm not going to read the whole story. I don't think we probably won't have time for that. It's a little bit longer than that. So I'll just read some of it, and then it'll sort of like whet your appetite. And then if you guys are interested, obviously I would recommend owning this book if you don't already. It's wonderful. But if you don't, it's also available on Project Gutenberg for free. So this is from The House at Pooh Corner, Chapter 8, in which Piglet does a very grand thing. Halfway between Pooh's house and Piglet's house was a thoughtful spot, where they met sometimes when they had decided to go and see each other. And as it was warm and out of the wind, they would sit down there for a little and wonder what they would do now that they had seen each other. One day, when they had decided not to do anything, Pooh made up a verse about it, so that everybody should know what the place was for. This warm and sunny spot belongs to Pooh, and here he wonders what he's going to do. Oh, bother, I forgot. It's Piglet's too. Now, one autumn morning, when the wind had blown all the leaves off the trees in the night, and was trying to blow the branches off, Pooh and Piglet were sitting in the thoughtful spot and wondering. What I think, said Pooh, is I think we'll go to Pooh Corner and see Eeyore, because perhaps his house has been blown down, and perhaps he'd like us to build it again. What I think, said Piglet, is I think we'll go and see Christopher Robin, only he won't be there, so we can't. Well, let's go and see everybody, said Pooh, because when you've been walking in the wind for miles and you suddenly go into somebody's house and he says, Hello, Pooh, you're just in time for a little smackerel of something, and you are, then what's what I call a friendly day. Piglet thought they ought to have a reason for going to see everybody, like looking for small or organizing an expedition, if Pooh could think of something. And Pooh could. We'll go because it's Thursday, he said, and we'll go wish everybody a very happy Thursday. Come on, Piglet. They got up, and when Piglet had sat down again because he didn't know the wind was so strong, and had been helped up by Pooh, they started off. They went to Pooh's house first, and luckily Pooh was at home just as they got there, so he asked them in, and they had some. And then they went on to Kanga's house, holding on to each other and shouting, Isn't it? And what? And I can't hear. By the time they got to Kanga's house, they were so buffeted that they stayed to lunch. Just at first, it seemed rather cold outside afterwards, so they pushed on to Rabbit's as quickly as they could. We've come to wish you a very happy Thursday, said Pooh, when he had gone in and out once or twice just to make sure that he could get out again. Why, what's going to happen on Thursday? Asked Rabbit. And when Pooh had explained, and Rabbit, whose life was made up of important things, said, Oh, I thought you'd really come about something. They sat down for a little, and by, Pooh and Piglet went on again. The wind was behind them now, so they didn't have to shout. Rabbit's very clever, said Pooh thoughtfully. Yes, said Piglet. Rabbit's clever. And he has brain. Yes, said Piglet. Rabbit has brain. I suppose, said Pooh, that's why he never understands anything. And we'll leave it there. All right, I think we will go ahead and stop the share and open up the floor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alex. That was so evocative. I just can feel the wind and the leaves and everything like in my bones. And you are an awesome storyteller.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna have to, anyway, you're gonna have to bring more stories to us. It was beautiful. I I'll just add one more thing to the pot that I've been thinking about. So over the weekend, as it might be, Venus entered into the underworld. So this happens every 19 months. So it's not every year coinciding with the fall. But I just want to name that if any of you are feeling like you're in like an underworld space or really, really being asked to let go of things that feel uncomfortable, that there's like double energy this year moving us toward that, right? We're already in this phase that Alex so eloquently talked about, but then also this extra added situation with Venus, which, long story short, is that Venus has been our morning star for about 8 months. And there's actually a whole story of Inanna about how Venus and the moon get together 7 times, and it represents the 7 energy centers and Venus's descent into the underworld to meet with her sister. And then, so as of last weekend, now Venus is gone and we won't see her again until January or February, or anyway, it's going to be a while. And then Venus will reappear as the evening star, as an evening star in the east. So many cultures, so the Sumerians and even the Mayans, but many other cultures tracked Venus and noted that when this occurred, then it was also a time of letting go and recreating, like being the goo and the chrysalis. So we're getting a double whammy. Just wanted to note that when Elizabeth mentioned this theme, I really have been feeling it. Yeah, along with that. So thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Oh,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
it fits perfectly with this moving toward the winter solstice past the equinox and that darkness and that soup of darkness. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And even with the animals that we've had lately, we've had the cranes and the bears and the owls, all of that kind of space of moving into the darkness and that dreamscape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, how long?
We should almost do Venus sometime, even though it's not on Earth. We can see it from Earth in some instances, as you mentioned. But it's like I know there's so much like lore and mythology around that planet, and I don't know. I'm not as into the astrology stuff, but I think there's a lot of richness there, and it's one that comes up a lot. I also know I don't know if this is there's like there's a place in California. I can't remember. It's down by like where that place where Eric Thorsell had a vacation.
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs, maybe. Anyway, there's like this big, it's like a dome that somebody constructed that, I don't, do you guys know what I'm talking about? There's like this dome out in the desert that's this guy
Oh, I
constructed
know
that he said,
about it.
you know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about?
It's
Like
in it's
supposedly,
in Landers, California. My ancestors actually had a cabin there, and it's called the Integratron.
yes,
And
yes.
I went, yeah, and it's all the sacred geometry of the site. Yeah, it was inspired by Venus aliens, I think. Anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
we
Yeah, like
we
this really eccentric guy who built it said that like Venetians told him how to build it, and it apparently has like some really strong like uh acoustics or whatever. Like people will go in there and play instruments and it like resonates off, and people will go and lay in there and have therapy, like bathe their body in this resonance or whatever. It's crazy. So I learned all about this place, and I was like, man, if I ever go to California again, I'm going back to that place. I'd like to go check this out. And ever since I heard about this like 10 years ago, and I still haven't been, but I actually really want to check it out. Anyway.
All right. Well, if you go nature healing field trip to Landers, yeah, I have family roots there. Yeah, it's I went there once, and yes, it's a great sound bath.
Mm. Mm. Shayna?
Yeah, I'm keeping my video off because I'm in the dark, so you wouldn't see me anyway.
Mm.
But thank you, Alex. I guess I just want to share that I was hanging out in the woods today, in the autumn woods. It's a new moon, and what really struck me is that is how when the leaves fall, that's not the end of the story.
Mm.
You know, the leaves fall on the ground and they turn to something else.
Mhm.
And so, and the place in the forest where I was, there were also a lot of fallen trees in various stages of decomposition. And so I guess I just want to highlight that part of the autumn,
Mm.
you know, that yeah, it's the end of a cycle of a certain kind of life, but it's not the end of the cycle. So I don't know.
Yeah,
That's just what I wanted to say. Yeah.
for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's absolutely right. When I see leaves, now I think, oh, these will be great in my garden beds,
Be
because
good
they
compost. Yeah.
give that beautiful life. They're that perfect compost material that brings nutrients back to all of the land beneath it. Um, yeah, thank you.
It's a particular smell at different times of year. So like
Mm.
right now
Mm.
they're all falling and stuff, and it's quite dry. But in the springtime they'll all be wet and decomposing and so on. And like when we walk around our property and we're kind of abutting against a bunch of forest back here, and it's like it's got a smell. There's definitely a smell to it, and it's not necessarily bad. It is a kind of decay and rot, but it's not. It's like it smells refreshing at the same time. It's really
Mm.
interesting. It's like
Mhm.
that composty smell, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
And then you get mushrooms starting to grow in the spring and whatnot, and you go
Mhm.
foraging for mushrooms and all that. Yeah, it's
Mm.
wonderful. Yeah.
Mhm. Mm. Allah. Mm. I'm just letting the darkness too that Shayna's resting in. That's perfect for this presentation and where we are right now. It's just bringing that into these leaves, creating that dark blanket on top of the earth. Thank you. I'll just add the sound also, the sound of leaves on the ground, that crisp crunch that you hear underfoot. It's so satisfying and so present. Just brings you right there. You feel the transformation right under your foot. Um, yeah.
If anyone is inspired to do a red leaf hunt, you can send me a picture of what you find and I'll make a collage. I think that'd be fun. So
Mm.
open invitation for us to engage.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah. Thank you.
thank you.
Mm.
Well, Megan, I at our little break in dream class this morning, I just knew I had to go out and take a picture of the burning bush. So that's my there's my background color, my background slide.
Yes.
You
It's just,
already did it, Robin.
I did it. And we just took that little break. I went, oh, I'm gonna go outside and take a picture of that bush.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is. Mm. Mm.
Mhm.
Mm, that is beautiful. Mm. Hola. Suan.
Yeah, this looking for the red leaves. I went out for a walk a little bit before sunset. Actually, I went and did some qigong on Burr Pond, and then took a walk. And we've had very subdued colors until we had a hard frost last week, and all of a sudden, we have a final flash of color going on here. And the sun was coming across the water, and it was two red trees that just popped right out in the sunset, reflecting on the water too. So you had this big swath of red. So I'm going to go back there and see if I can capture that with a camera. Because we haven't had a lot of color this fall, and now there's little pockets of red and then yellow as well. So, and thank you so much. This whole presentation just filled me up with the energies that are around us right now, and it's really beautiful. So thank you, Alex and Elizabeth.
Yeah, and thank you, Alex. That was wonderful. I just love the stories. That was great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Hola. Hola. Yeah, Gary.
I just wanted to thank you, Alex, for the presentation. And you know, living where we live now, all the trees, the colors are gone. And but there's always a lot of people come up from Denver that come and look at the trees because it's primarily aspen. And so it was really pretty. But now when I look out the window, I see bare branches.
Sticks.
Next to evergreens. But I had a story. I grew up in the Midwest and really loved the leaves and loved the fall. And even at Halloween, there were still leaves on the ground. I can remember crunching through leaves, going to people's houses. And back in the early 70s, the Los Angeles Rams used to play at the Coliseum in Los Angeles, and that's before they moved to Orange County, before they moved to St. Louis, and now they're back. And I used to go to the Rams games, and walking up to the Coliseum, you'd kick through the leaves, and there was a certain sound to that, and a certain smell to it. And then you had to sit and watch the football game. And then one day the Rams left. And I took in one game down in Orange County. It was on not a softball, but a baseball field. And it just didn't seem right. And so I vowed to support any team that came into the Coliseum. So I could go back and experience that. And lo and behold, it was the mighty Raiders. And I still joke about that today. But I'm still a Raider fan, even though they left and came back and left and now they're gone, but whatever. So, fall in the leaves, the presentation was just great. And the weaving in the poo was just really outstanding. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that description. It's really vivid. Yeah. Yeah. It makes the game.
Yeah.
Like having those experiential components and that embodied sense of the season around the game, hold that container. Yeah. Thank you. Hola.
Hola.
I love the presentation too. And I have one thing I want to add from today, because when I saw this morning that it was on fallen leaves, I thought, oh, we're just starting to get some fallen leaves. I'll see if I can take a picture of the fallen leaves in the backyard and send it to you. But we also have a new neighbor who is a dog. So besides Nikki, who is a 4-year-old golden retriever, there now is a much bigger 1-year-old golden retriever who lives next door. And they play together. And I got totally distracted trying to get a picture of Nikki and Sunny and the leaves. And I never did get a good picture, but I had a wonderful time trying to catch them. And they had a wonderful time running around and around. But somebody talking about, maybe it was what you said, Gary. I remember where leaves touch me was when we were young. We had a big front yard and a big backyard. And in my family, of the youngest 6, there were 5 girls. And it was the job of the 5 little girls to rake the leaves. Because any jobs nobody else wanted, if they could get away with them, they would give to us in some form. So we would go out, usually with 1 or 2 rakes that we were sharing in this big yard with no resources really. And we would pretend we were raking the giant's hair. And we would rake along and we would part it, and it must have taken forever to get the leaves raked, because we were much more focused on raking the hair of the giant than we were on whether or not those leaves got in a pile. But it certainly was a nice job for us. So it brought back that time of being out in the evening, sometimes till after dark, trying to gather the leaves and rake the giant's hair. So
A lot, Angie.
A lot. A lot.
A lot.
Good stuff.
I love that. I'm gonna hold that imagery, the giant's hair. Yeah, and 5 little girls raking it. Yeah, you would need a lot of people for all that hair. Thank you. Hmm. Hmm. Well, is there anything else that wants to be shared, or anyone that wants to be verbally or silently brought into this beautiful healing field?
I'll put Joe and Greg with their healing and new hips.
Joe and Greg, healing and new hips. Hola.
I'd like to put Karen in, whose back now has gone up to her hip went up to her back, up to her shoulders, and now in her neck. So we're still trying to solve that.
Thank you, Gary. Holding Karen all the way from the hips up, the spine, through the back, and into the neck. Holding in this beautiful field, supported. Hola. Hola. All right. Well, we will move into our formal practice, bringing this beautiful field that we're already sharing, trusting that any others unvoiced, held in our hearts, are in this field with us right now. Find your comfortable meditation position, seated, standing, or laying down. Get cozy, cozy, cozy. Allowing the quiet and the increasing darkness to merge in with the body as you snuggle into your spot. Feel the weight of the body sinking into the surface beneath you, allowing that weight to flow through the hips, the legs, out the bottoms of the feet, connecting with the earth, passing through all of the fallen leaves and the chill soil beneath, just merging with the earth and inviting that energy to flow up through the bottoms of the feet, bringing that nourishment through the lower body, the hips, up the spine, through the neck, feeling the spine lengthen, and the crown of the head, earth energy flowing up and out, and through this open crown, feeling the heavenly energy flow in through the crown, down through the head, the neck, spine and back, through the hips, the legs, and out the feet. Feeling this flow, this merging and mingling of the earth and the heaven, nourishing the body, the energy. And taking a few soft breaths as this earthly and heavenly energy flows through any blockages, bringing that softening, allowing tension to flow out on the out breath. Allowing the tension to ease and release just like the falling leaves, floating to the earth's surface where they are composting and nourishing. And now draw the awareness to the consciousness and invite it to flow into the center of the head, the upper dantian, allowing the consciousness to fill the head inner space. Feeling the gentleness of the sound gently ripple through the head inner space like a soft wind. The sound flows from the center of the head out into the sense organs, the eyes, and the nose, the ears, the mouth and jaw. Observing the inner space of the head, and inviting it to soften and open gently. And in this gentle opening, we feel the inner space of the head and the sense organs opening and merging with the Huanyuan Qi, with the universe Qi all around us. And this gentle awareness flows from the upper dantian down through the neck, the shoulders, arms and hands, all the way into the chest, the center of the middle dantian. Our awareness gathers there, gentle, Mm. Mm. We feel the sound vibrating, rippling like a gentle wind through the organs of our chest. Mm. Mm. Our hearts, our lungs, all the tissues softening, letting go of whatever is ready to float away. Mm. 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 Feeling that gentle sound radiate, radiate. Mm. Mm. Nourishing and opening. The chest inner space opens, gently merging with universe chi. Shoo. And this awareness flows from the middle dantian down to the solar plexus to the lower dantian, centering behind the navel and radiating, radiating on a gentle wind through the organs. Mm. 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 Our beautiful organs held and nourished in this time of increasing darkness, allowing that darkness to bring just what our organs need: clarity and presence. Mm. 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 The inner space of the lower dantian, all of the organs is softened, and they relax in this gentle gaze, this gentle wind opening and merging with universe chi. Shoo. And the awareness expands out to encompass the spine, the neck, upper back, middle back, low back, expanding into the hips, their beautiful hips, the legs, upper legs, knees, calves, and feet. The inner space of the spine, the hips, and the low body, held in this gentle gaze. Mm. Mm. Feeling the sound filling all of the spaces. Mm. Softening and opening those spaces into the universe chi. Mm. Shoo. And we bring this gentle gaze to our entirety, our chi entirety, our Mingjue entirety, the entirety of the physical body, merged and peaceful, held with this gentleness, And opening in this time of quiet, this time of dark, contemplation, letting go. Mm. Mm. Having the gentle intention to release whatever is ready to go. Releasing it with love and deep appreciation. Mm. And in this entirety, we release to the universe chi together in this collective consciousness field. We open. Shoo. And in this gentle openness, we are Mingjue love. We are Mingjue peace. We are Mingjue joy. We are Mingjue gratitude. And we allow these truths to flow into this consciousness field, into our collective community, with all of our teachers, all healers, wisdom beings, practitioners, and traditions. And we feel these connections in our embodied state, in our tissues, in our cells, knowing that they'll flow through the night and days ahead and the time as winter approaches. You can check in and see if you'd like to stay in this formal healing field, staying as long as you'd like, emerging when you're ready. Otherwise, bring your awareness into the body, feeling where you connect to the surface beneath you, feeling the air on your skin, noticing any sounds in the environment. Feeling this healing consciousness field merging with the embodied experience of exactly where we are in this moment. Taking a few deep breaths. And stacking the hands palm over palm on top of the navel, Du Chi. Connecting with the center, the lower Dantian. Haola. And thank you. And releasing the hands. Moving the feet, gently adjusting the body. When ready, invite the eyes to open. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Yeah.
Thank you for a lovely presentation and a lovely healing.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you, Alex, Elizabeth, and everyone. Beautiful. Howla.
Haola.
Wow.
We'll be back next week.
Mm.
Yeah. I wish
Cool.
you all wonderful, wonderful nights.
Thank you.
Yep. Good night, everyone.
Thank
Much love.
you.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good
Aloha.
night.
Yeah.
Haola.
Haola.
Hon Yun Ling Tong.
When you're on Ling Tong. Bye, everyone.